All right, and we're live. Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like some of the founders you've heard of, some you've never heard of. You know, Kellianne, I was talking to a lady yesterday, Andrea Houston, who went through 4 life-altering events while running her 25-year-old design and event firm, Artitudes Design. People need to check it out. It's really intense, actually. Andrea's amazing too. So check that episode out. Kim Walsh Phillips from powerfulprofessionals.com. She grew several 7-figure businesses, but at one point had to sell her wedding ring to make ends meet. So if you're an entrepreneur and you've experienced kind of this winding path, you'll totally relate to her story. So check that episode out. Before I introduce today's guest, who's a rock star of a person and entrepreneur, Kellianne Fedio, I'm going to tell you this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. You know, I co-founded Rise 25 with my business partner, John Corcoran. And what we basically do is we help you connect to your best relationships. We help you give your best relationships. Kellianne, you are one of those givers too. So I know that you love this. It's like, how do you profile your best relationships? It could be business, it could be partnerships, it could be friends. It doesn't matter on your platform. Podcasting is the best, single-handed best way I've seen in my doing this for over 10 years. If you want to learn more about podcasting, we will help businesses launch and run their podcasts. You can go to rise25.com. I was really inspired by my grandfather. I won't go into the whole story. You can go to my about page on InspiredInsider.com and check out more. But he was a Holocaust survivor, and his legacy lives on because of an interview, because the Holocaust Foundation did an interview with him. You can watch the full interview. It's an hour, or the shortened version there. It makes me have gratitude and appreciation for my life. But I feel like when I have Kellianne, people like you on, I'm not just, we're not just talking about amazing things like you're going to talk about how do you increase your valuation and exits and all of that, but it's about helping my guests leave a legacy beyond, just the business side. So check out rise25.com if you have questions. Without further ado, I do want to give a big shout out, Kellianne, to Laurent Hirschkorn, who's a mutual friend, founder of incrementumdigital.com, because that's the reason we met. Okay. I don't know if you remember that, but we had an event and he's like, oh, can I bring my colleague, invite Kellianne? I'm like, yeah, I totally trust you, Laurent. And Kellianne came and she is freaking sharp as the sharpest knife you could find. Like this lady is amazing. So Kellianne Fedio founded and scaled her own multi-million-dollar e-commerce brand, then a successful 7-figure exit. She now helps brands identify, maximize their profit opportunities in their Amazon business and optimize their operations, develop a solid exit strategy, which, I think I'm guilty of that. We need to do that from the get-go, not just wait till we're ready to sell, right, Kelly? So yeah. She offers strategic consulting and works directly with brand owners. She's curated a list which she considers her dream team of experts to help you maximize the value of your business. And there's a lot of mistakes along the journey, which we'll talk about. And so if you want to learn more, go to amazingexits.com. Her and Paul Miller have groundbreaking podcasts. They share their top insights. They have top experts and brands talking about their journey. If you want to work directly or contact Kellianne directly, you can go to digitalshelfstrategy.com. Kellianne, I'm going to stop talking. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeremy. This is so exciting. Glad to finally be doing this with you.
You know, what's interesting about your journey, when I look through it, is you're an attorney by trade.
Yes,
and,
in a former life. That's
correct. And John Corcoran, my business partner, calls himself a recovering attorney.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't practice anymore. But tell me about the going from attorney to e-commerce seller.
Yeah, definitely it wasn't like a straight progression. I don't think back when I was in law school and, practicing for almost 10 years that I would have ever imagined I'd be where I am now. But it really comes down to the type of life that I wanted to have. I've told this story many times, but, I'm a mom and wife first and foremost. And, I was able to work 100 hours a week, billable hours when I was an attorney, when I was single, back in my heyday. But after getting married and having children, it just wasn't conducive to the life that I wanted to live. I wanted to be, free and have time freedom to be able to raise my kids and spend time with them. And, not only are the hours and litigating very grueling, but it's really hard to leave that work at the office, right? You come home with it. I'm sure John has the same stories. And so Pretty much a couple years after my first daughter was born was when, my husband and I decided, we have to figure out something else. And so we made that big leap for me to stay home, and, so grateful.
What was the first thing you did? So you're like, okay, 100 hours a week, a child. I mean, anyone has had a child, like you don't sleep, and so like, doing that with not sleeping, child's not sleeping. What was the first thing you decided to do to like, okay, I need something else?
I wanted out so badly. I literally was living on no sleep, and I'm, also really avid into working out. So I had to fit my workouts in, and I would go on my lunch breaks. I would drive. The daycare was like, with traffic, like 45 minutes away, see her for maybe 15 minutes as a baby, as a 6-week-old baby. And then go back. And I just had this just huge pit in my stomach day in, day out. And so I told my husband at that time, he was in pharmaceutical sales at that time, and he was making good money, but certainly, not enough to replace my income. I just said, I don't care if we have to sell our house, move into an apartment.
Yeah. You've had enough at that point.
Keep on. I will do whatever it takes to stay home with my baby. And, we wanted to have another. So at that point, it was just kind of like jumping off without a parachute, and we were going to figure it out on the way down.
What did you try first?
Well, I didn't try anything for a while. Actually, my husband is a rock star. I mean, he's super successful in sales. So, he just kept climbing in his position, and, really was able to take the heat off of me of having to work. Of course, we had to put other goals on hold during that time, like investing goals and building our wealth and all that kind of stuff. But when it was time for me to get back into something, I just knew that I had to do something that was, location independent. So I pretty quickly narrowed in on, I've got to do something online. I don't know what the hell it is, but I have got to do something online, right? And so, I went down the rabbit holes of internet marketing, everything you could think of under the sun, internet marketing wise. I tried, I failed.
What were some of the things you tried that didn't work?
Gosh, like affiliate marketing, blogging. I tried, just basically anything I could get my hands on that I could make a quick buck. And it just all was just an epic fail. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about internet marketing principles, which was good. But
they do a good job marketing internet marketing. Say, you'll make this, in 1 week. You're like, cool. And then you're like, wait, maybe it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, the whole make money online niche is like probably one of the biggest internet marketing niches, right? And so I was embroiled at that probably for, a good 2 years. But I did learn a ton about, what it takes to succeed with internet marketing. Again, I was not successful. I didn't make a dime. It wasn't until I, found this model with drop shipping, and specifically it was drop shipping on eBay, that I started to see some success. In other words, I started making money, and I very quickly went from making 0 to 10,000 plus a month. And I was like, holy crap, like this working online thing actually works. Like I found something. But then, that started feeling like it was just a big job. And so it was around that time, like circa 2013, that this little course came out called Amazing Selling Machine. Mm-hmm. And it was all about how to, launch and scale your own brand on the Amazon platform. And I've had Matt
Clark and his co-founder on the podcast before.
Yes, and Jason Katzenbach. Big fans of theirs. I mean, if it wasn't for Amazing Selling Machine, I would not, be here today. And, I joined Amazing Selling Machine through one of their top affiliates, Ryan Moran. So I was in his group. It was called The Tribe. And, just met some really great people. And that's really where I would say my entrepreneurial career really started, in terms of knowing, okay, I want to be in this realm of selling physical products to people. I want to sell them online. I want to create my own brand. I had big visions for what that brand was going to look like. And, utilizing the Amazing Selling Machine course is kind of like a springboard into doing that was really, really helpful. But then of course there's, that's kind of like your basic education, and there's a lot you learn through experience along the way.
So what were some of the things you learned from Ryan Moran? Because I know he's he does a lot of online training, teaching. What did you learn from him?
He's amazing. I still consider him, I don't talk to him anymore, but I still consider him to be one of my most inspirational mentors. I still listen to his podcast. He's got a great podcast, capitalism.com. But he really focused on building an audience and building a brand. and rather than just schlepping products. And he was pretty, staunch about that very early on. And I have to admit, when I first got started, I was kind of schlepping products because that's kind of how the model is. You find, a hot selling product, at least back in that day, and make your own version of it and sell it. And I was very successful with that. But, very early on, I had that ingrained in me that really to create a true business, I need to create a brand. And so that was my focus pretty early on.
So what was your first drop shipping product? What did you do? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It was, I was really successful with pet products, and it was this little wooden, little staircase for little dogs so that they could go up to the couch. I sold the pajamas.
Do you have a dog? Why that?
What's that?
Do you have a dog? Why did you decide on that?
You know what? I just focused in on that niche, like pet products. And I mean, obviously it's a huge industry, and that product was just selling like hotcakes on eBay. And so I was able to basically, find it elsewhere cheaper and then arbitrage it over on eBay.
So now you will call it graduate to building your own brand.
Yes.
How do you decide where to go? Did you continue on the pet products?
No, I didn't. And I still have these visions of grandeur someday that I'm going to start a pet brand because I do love animals and I love my little Frenchie. And I would love to start like a brand just based around French bulldogs, but that's for another day. But I knew that, I wanted to create a brand that served somebody like me. So I was my own best customer. So I created a women's outdoor lifestyle brand and, really focused on developing products that would cater to, women who love to enjoy the outdoors and products that would help them make that experience more enjoyable, more comfortable, and more stylish.
I know you're very data driven. So what were some things you look at before you decide to launch a new product?
Well, on Amazon, the data that you're mostly looking for is you're looking for keyword volume. So, that's got to be the first thing. There's got to be keyword search demand for your product. And, a lot of people like to say on Amazon, you're not selling products, you're selling keywords basically. So I looked for products that had, mid-level, keyword demand, not super competitive. And then also I was always on the hunt for emerging trends. So, within a niche, you're looking at maybe products that haven't quite hit Amazon yet, but are trending on other sites like maybe Etsy or Pinterest or other social media platforms.
Are there any recommendations you have for specific tools for doing any research that you like?
Product research?
Yeah, product research, yeah.
Yeah, product research is, I like to say, both art and science. So there's the hard data, there's the keyword search traffic, there's the competition, there's, if you're gonna try to get to, let's say, page 1 for a particular keyword, you've got to look at, who's on page 1 and if you compete with them from, a review standpoint, a price standpoint, a product quality standpoint. So I like to mix both art and science. You've got to have demand there, but again, I like to focus on emerging trends, and I like to look off of Amazon for product ideas. So I like to look at product catalogs. I like to look at, other social media sites. I like to look at, the magazine at the airport or on the airplane. I forget what that thing's called, Sky Mall, I think. And go into physical retail stores. Can't, really do that much right now, or so we're starting to get back to it. But, look for what's out there that's not on Amazon yet, but fits within a niche that is evergreen, that people are always going to want to buy products.
Yeah. That's really smart. I like that you look for these offline versions because you talk about product catalog, right? And you think, well, these people are spending hard dollars to mail, like these things are heavy into homes. So if they could prove it out, they wouldn't keep mailing these catalogs. And why not, kind of utilize the research that they're doing
exactly
into what else is going.
There's so many online catalogs too that you can look. You don't have to just look at every catalog that I get in the mail, I look at, or I did when I was, really busy in creating products. And right now I don't have a brand right now. I'm helping others with their brands. But when I launch a new brand someday, whenever that is, definitely that's one of my biggest resources. And there's a lot of online catalogs as well.
So Kellianne, I want to talk about big winners, big losers, because anyone who's been in business, listen, we don't get it. Even, Hall of Fame baseball players, they bat 300. They get out 7 out of 10 times. And so the same goes for these type of things. But I don't know. I want to talk about one thing before I talk about big winners, big losers, but stealing an idea. What's an idea, a product you'd give away? Like you're like, I'm not going to do this. If
Oh
you're
boy.
listening right now, this is something like, listen, if I were to do it right now, like this minute, here's one thing, one product or category that I would recommend you look at that you are like, I'm not going to execute on. I hope someone else like runs with it.
Boy, you really put me on the spot, Jeremy.
I know.
All right. Well, I'm not going to say that I'm never going to do this, but one niche that I have identified that I think is a really good niche. I'm not going to give any specific product ideas, but a niche is women's office decor.
Okay.
And I think that there is a lot of potential in that niche.
Okay. Especially right now when people are working from home.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had this idea I have like a spreadsheet of just ideas and
I'll tell you, Kellianne, what I bought. I mean, I bought this monitor razor that looks cool. That is just like a glass thing. It took me like 5 seconds to put together. And my wife's like, oh, that's really cool looking. To your point, she's like, will you order me one? And so it's just, my monitor is sitting on this thing. It cost me $23. I don't know how much it costs to make, but it looks nice. So to your point, I've even bought, my wife liked it. So I guess it's women's office decor. It would be considered that.
Maybe
right?
they need to make get in a different color for women.
So there's an idea for someone. It's called Hemudu. Hemudu.
I don't even know what it is. You said it was called a razor. What is it called?
No, it's like I was looking for something to raise the monitor. I can, but it's not like electric. It's just like just a stand that I put my monitor on. And so people could check it out on Amazon, Hemudu. It was like $23. It looks pretty. So, there you go.
$23. I bet you, what is it? A piece of plastic?
It's glass. It's like tempered glass, clear glass. So it goes with anything. And that's probably why she liked it, with just like a little stand on it, But
now somebody could go out and develop one in kind of like an ombre glass color for women, and then specifically target, office decor for women. Yeah.
And also it's not brand specific. Like I wasn't searching for a specific brand. Right. And so, it's like, whatever. It could be easily
that's the quintessential private label product, right?
Yeah. There. So it looks kind of like this little glass thing, but that's not it. So thank you. That's great. I've already bought stuff, related to that. So I'll second that one. So big winners, big losers. What's one that you thought, you're like, I have the next hot product. This is going to be my bestseller, and it bombed.
Do I have to say?
If you have to admit it. No, you could, whatever you want to share. I mean, no one's going to want to replicate it because
Well, I'll share a story for another brand that I had with a partner, actually, my good friend Ron. So this is a brand we're no longer running, but we did have a really great idea, and all the research backed it up. We did everything on point, the marketing, but it just goes to show you that sometimes, you're going to have winners and losers. And, I like to have, kind of a average ratio, or the kind of numbers that I have are, out of every 10 products that I plan to launch, hopefully have 7 winners. And so this particular product that we put a lot of time and resources into, just didn't hit the mark. And again, I don't want to name.
Why do you think it didn't? Like you said, you're like, everything checked out from like the keyword research and whatever competition or whatever you're looking at. What do you think it was?
Actually,
both you and Laurent are very experienced at this. So
yeah. So it's, hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this failure. But what I think it is we added a lot of components to this product, and which raised the cost because it was a premium offering, right? And I generally like to have premium price points, premium products. But I think what we ended up doing was, this is all, learned in hindsight, but I think we just priced ourselves out of the market by doing that.
So you think it would have been competitive, just the prices? It just goes to show, if one of those aspects is off, it's not going to sell.
Absolutely.
Right?
But by then it was too late, because we put all this time and resources and design work into this particular, bundle, if you will, and it had too many components. And in order to be profitable, we had to charge a certain price. And so, definitely took away so many great lessons from that, and had a lot of fun too.
Talk about a winner. You don't have to talk about a specific product, but winners in sort of like you saw like these 2 or 3 metrics were like on point, and that led you to make the decision to actually do. Not saying again like you just mentioned everything on point, and the price was off. One thing was not on, and that didn't work out. What was one where it worked out just as you expected it to? What were the key metrics you saw that were in your favor?
Well, I would say that the first product that I launched in my brand was a home run. And the only caveat to that is I didn't plan on it being a home run. I planned on it being a base hit, and it turned out to be a home run. So I was lucky in that way. But the metrics at the time, which I still feel like hold true today, because back when I got started, the methodology was really to find something that had, it was very high keyword demand. And this particular product, back then nobody was teaching, and they still don't really teach to look for emerging trends. And this was an emerging trend. And I just felt really strongly, even back in 2014, that, I just have a good instinctual feel that this particular niche is going to take off. And so it had solid keyword demand. I knew I would be able to compete, but again, the sales metrics on it, I thought were going to be a base hit, and it turned out to be a home run because, as I predicted, the niche did explode. And so that goes back to my earlier comment that, a lot of everything we do in selling on Amazon or being e-commerce or brand owners is art and science. You've got to look at the data, you've got to make data-driven decisions, but there's so much art to it and subjectivity to it.
So let's get to valuation. You decide, okay, I'm going to sell my business. Is there a certain time frame people should be looking at doing that? Looking back, do you wish you would have waited? Do you wish you would have done it sooner?
No, I put a lot of planning into my exit, and that's where I'm really passionate about being able to reach sellers now on their journey, because I've shared this on other podcast interviews. You shouldn't just wake up one day and decide, oh, I'm going to sell my business and now let me go out and do that. You should always be running any type of a business with the end in mind, with an exit strategy. And you should always know the value of the asset that you're building, regardless of whether or not you're going to sell it. And so, I would say that you need to, put exit planning into your workflow, into your life. As far as being a business owner, exit planning should always be a part of that. I feel very strongly about that, because if you ever do decide to sell, then you're going to know exactly how much that business is worth, and you're going to be prepared. And you can also be, if an opportunity comes along, if somebody comes along, or a company comes along, or a private equity firm comes along and wants to acquire you, and they offer you a certain amount, you know what the value of that asset that you've built. And on the other side of that, you could have an emergency where you need to get out, and you don't want to have a fire sale of your business. You need to know what it's worth and what you'd be able to command for it in the market. So I feel very strongly about exit planning. If I were going to start a new business today, I would be doing it with the end in mind. So when I started planning for my exit, it was well in advance of when I actually exited. It was about 2 years, but I would recommend at the very least, 12 months minimum of starting to plan before actually selling.
Kellianne, with that, what are some, and by the way, obviously the same things you use to, sell are the same things you do to actually put systems in place and actually make your business increase in valuation, I imagine. What are some things that people are like, okay, I want to start planning today? What are some things you recommend they start to look at or start to do?
Well, the very first thing I would say, and hopefully this is something that's already in place, but it's just very, very crucial, is really good bookkeeping. So having good bookkeeping, especially e-commerce bookkeeping, which is accrual based, and a good CPA, and making sure that you have clean books, clean financials. You're able to at all times, know what your profit and losses are, know what your balance sheet states, and also cash flow management. And so, one thing that I wish I had done early on is to work with a fractional CFO. And there are services and providers that do that to really help you manage your cash flow, because that's one of the things that I think a lot of e-commerce brand owners get into trouble with is cash flow management. So that's, at the core of everything. You've got to have clean books to be able to make any, intelligent decisions, not only about how to operate your business on a day-to-day basis, but when it comes time to sell. Beyond that, there's going to be a team of advisors that you're going to need to surround yourself with as you do your exit planning. You're going to need, not only somebody, an intermediary to help you sell your business, whether that is a broker or a mergers and acquisitions advisor, but you're also going to need a good attorney, preferably a mergers and acquisitions attorney that, knows this field of law, and also a good tax strategist, whether that's your CPA or it could be somebody else that helps you plan for the tax consequences of your sale.
For the fractional CFO, is that someone who's also your accountant or a totally separate role?
It can be, but usually it's different. And so, it just depends on what role you're, there's varying degrees of specialties offered by CPAs out there. Some just do tax preparation, right? Some do strategic planning. Some do cash flow management. Some even do bookkeeping, although any good accountant should not be doing bookkeeping because that's just a waste of their time. A good CPA should be a good strategist and could be able to help you, but oftentimes, it's more of an internal role, or you can have what's called like a fractional CFO, somebody who is not solely working for you, but they do CFO services for lots of different businesses, and they can help you with that too, because, it's so easy to get in trouble being a e-commerce brand owner, especially selling on Amazon, where at the click of a button, you can accept an Amazon loan, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, deposit it into your bank account. And
I'm going to go on vacation. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you don't have a good strategy on how to deploy that money and knowing how, your cash flow is working. And that's with any business, any investment, you need to understand how that's working. And I think that gets overlooked by a lot of Amazon sellers, unfortunately.
Kellianne, at what point do you say you should get a fractional CFO? Like at what maybe dollar amount in someone's business, or, like if they're just starting, should they start off with that?
No,
or
I don't think.
What point is like, okay, it makes sense to get one? No.
I think that if you are planning an exit within the next, 12 months, you definitely should look into it. At least have somebody come and look at your, strategy. You've got to know like where you're at in the cycle of your business. If you're planning on exiting, you're not necessarily focused on, top line growth. You might be just focused on profitability, before your exit. So, that's where a cash flow, strategy really comes into play, and knowing, how you're going to position your company for sale and what the value of that's going to be. If you're deploying all of your cash for new product development and advertising, you're going to have, that's a growth mode. So you're not going to be showing a really strong bottom line there. So it depends on the stage, but I would say, definitely once you reach, the 7-figure mark, I think would be a good time to look into that. But I believe that every seller from the beginning should have good bookkeeping in place.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, whether you're going to sell or not, having someone like that look, and if you want to grow, well, how much can you afford to grow, and how much can you invest in growing is also important too, from knowing your numbers. And sometimes is running a business, our strength isn't knowing the exact numbers. Some people it is. Mine is not necessarily. More like big picture. Okay, let's get this going, and need someone else looking at the fine details. What are some other things? So you mentioned a couple, your dream team, right? So it would be a fractional CFO, mergers and acquisitions. It could be a lawyer. It could be a broker, attorney, tax strategist, any others that you consider people should have a part of their dream team.
Well, obviously a bookkeeper along with that. And then when you said for the intermediary, depending on the level of your business, you would have either, an M&A advisor, like I said, or a broker. And then on top of that, there's lots of experts that you're going to need along the way to help optimize your Amazon business. So, Paul and I, when we launch our podcast, and, our mission really is going to be to connect people with, the best curated resources for everything you would need along your journey of exit planning and optimizing your business along the way. So for example, Amazon PPC optimization, we'd be referring you to our good friend, Leon Hirschborn and Incrementum to do your Amazon advertising management. There's a whole plethora of services within just selling on Amazon that a lot of sellers are familiar with, whether it comes to, software tools and all the way up to brand management. And, that's going to be something that I think is going to be a hugely valuable resource that sellers can rely on, hopefully trust in Paul and I, our recommendation, because we've either worked with these service providers or we know people who have worked with them and had successful results.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's business and business related, just general, and there's Amazon specific related professionals, whether it's optimization, it could be Amazon PPC, it could be sales tax, like an Amazon sales tax person, it could be someone who knows, like a lawyer that does trademark and
exactly.
And things like that.
It encompasses all those types of experts and professionals.
So if you go to Laurent and you go, I need your help, make sure you tell them that Kellianne sent you.
That's right, they're
on. What are some things that when you go in, and because people can come to you, Kelly, and go, listen, I need just an overall, coach and mentor in this process, right? And all of us need coaches. Even look at anyone who's watched the Last Dance for the Bulls. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson, but he also had a specific strength training coach for each individual aspect, right? So people can come to you and go, hey, I need you to kind of walk me through this. And you also kind of want a non-biased person, because if you go to a M&A person or a broker, they're gonna be like, we're the best, and you kind of need someone who maybe doesn't, like, okay, listen, here's your individual situation. I know they're good at this and they're good at that. What are some things you would say to someone right off the bat, Kellianne, that say, listen, start here to increase your valuation? Where should people start? Because everyone's like, yeah, maybe I'm going to exit, maybe I'm not, but I definitely want to increase my valuation because that just means my business is improving. What should people start doing in that realm?
Well, the first thing goes back to, again, the numbers and having clean financials. And the first thing that I would do with, a client is to look at their financials and look for opportunities to not only reduce costs, but also, like on a product by product basis, looking at, where are they getting the highest profit margin and ROI, and doubling and tripling down on that, and then cutting out the losers. It's coming in as an impartial person. I'm not the one that gathered the data, so I'm not the bookkeeper, but the bookkeeper is not the one analyzing the information. So coming in and helping the business owner analyze the information that they have. And so that presupposes they have good financials. So if I come in and I'm working with somebody and they have, messy financials, and the first thing I'm going to do is get them with a good bookkeeper and possibly accountants and get that cleaned up. And then we can make decisions, because it all comes down to the numbers, really, on how to run your business.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yes. I've gotten really good at looking at
Kellianne, come on. Tell me something easier. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not fun or sexy for a lot of people. That my mission, mine and Paul's mission, is to make this topic sexy. Like, who wants to talk about exit planning? Like, oh my God, that sounds so boring. That sounds like a lot of work. It's actually a lot of fun, because it's like this puzzle that you're putting together along the way. And the end goal is so that you can get the most friggin' money out of selling your business when it does come time. Maybe you don't ever, maybe it's gushing out so much cash and you've got it on autopilot, you've got it completely systematized, that you don't ever want to sell it. That's fine. But you need to know what that asset is worth, because it's probably the biggest asset that you have, at least for most sellers I know it is.
So let's talk about Paul Miller, amazing guy, stand-up guy. You guys are walking together on this journey with him. You want to talk about that for a second? I'm going to pull his website up here. Yeah. If you don't own one of these and you have a child, buy one today, cozyphones.com. They're wireless kids cozy phones.
Yeah.
How cool is that? So he's partnered with Paw Patrol, Sesame Street. He's done some amazing things. So what are some of the things you guys are walking through together in this process?
He has. I mean, I'm still so amazed at all that Paul has accomplished with his brand. I mean, he created this category, Jeremy. He created this category of, headband headphones for kids. And of course now, he's being knocked off left and right, and, all the competitors have come in, but, he's got, a lot of things up his sleeve to try to combat this from a patent perspective. But, Paul is, his company saw, huge growth very early on. And Paul is actually planning on an exit within the next 2 to 3 years. And so I'm going to be helping Paul along that journey. And we're going to be very candid about that journey in episodes on our podcast and sharing different things that we're working on to optimize Paul's business, Cozy Phones, in preparation for an exit in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. So if you want the behind the scenes look, you have to check out amazingexits.com and the Amazing Exits podcast to hear them walk you through the journey.
Yes.
So Kellianne, I always ask, since Inspired Insider, first of all, thank you. This has been amazing. I always love to hear your expertise. And so people can check out amazingexits.com. They can check out digitalshelfstrategy.com. And if they want to buy a Cozy phone, they can go to cozyphones.com. What's been, like you said, it's a windy road, this whole journey, from attorney to e-commerce, entrepreneur to selling, to now basically advising other people on selling. What's been a low point in the journey and how you push through? And then what's been a proud moment for you on the journey?
A low point is something that I felt along the way, and now it's hit me really hard too. But then I'm going to talk about now how I've turned that around. But
yeah,
is when you are on what I like to call this hamster wheel of being a business owner, and let's just talk about Amazon and e-commerce right now. Like it's a glorious business model. I love it. Is it as easy as it used to be? No. Is it getting more competitive? Yes. It's still a great opportunity, but you have to run it like a real business. And, you can get caught in this trap of just working. And like I said, it's true for any business, but, when you do that, you're not leaving a lot of time for really preparing for the future. And, in my case, it was wealth planning, something that I kind of put to the side and kind of put on autopilot for a while. In terms of how do we manage, taking profits from the business as I was running it and investing that properly. I kind of did the lazy man's approach of just, investing into, qualified retirement plans and things like that. And ever since I sold the business and prior to that, I've had a lot of time and have become very educated. And I feel now at a very advanced level when it comes to, okay, I know how to invest my money now for a really good return. And specifically for me, that's through real estate. And I wish along the way I had paid more attention to that, because now at this point I could have grown my wealth. And when I say mine, I mean mine and my family's, much bigger. Our whole goal, my husband and I, is to be financially free in terms of not having to work. We're always going to work because we love what we do. He loves his career, and I love business, but you want to be able to have that flexibility and say, okay, if I just wanted to live off of the cash flow of my passive investments, I have that option if I decided to just go take off for a couple of years. And that's the point we're at now. And my exit allowed me to take chips off the table and have a really good sum of money to now deploy into creating this wealth. But I wish I had been doing that along the way. And so I would really, tell business owners to be, thinking about, their business as, what are they getting out of it? If they're reinvesting everything back in, which a lot of owners do, is it really worth that? Or are you just waiting for your big payday someday when you sell the business? But take at least some chunk of profit and put that away. And I would really just advise putting that into something that's creating passive cash flow.
What about, thank you for that. Yeah. Oftentimes when you're in the mix, it's harder to do that. You feel like you're always kind of spinning your wheels or always reinvesting. And when you look back, you're like, oh, I wish I would have I forgot how the saying goes, Kellianne, it's like, hey, if I give you a penny every day for a month and I double it or something like that, or I'll give you $10,000, and that penny turns into exponential dollars when you just start doubling it. So it's just kind of that realm. What's been a proud moment in the journey for you when you look back?
I'm very proud of having created something from nothing with a very minimal investment. I think I started my e-commerce brand with about $2,500 loaned to me by my husband, as he likes to point out, and turn that into a multi-million-dollar brand and, sell for 7 figures. That definitely is my proudest.
It's amazing.
My entrepreneurial career.
Kellianne, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone check out amazingexits.com, digitalshelfstrategy.com. Anywhere else we should point people towards online, or are those the best places?
No, that's great. Amazing Exits. We are launching our podcast this summer, so stay tuned. We haven't officially launched, but I would love it if people would go to the website and at least enter their email so they can get on our list so we can keep them informed of what's going on. Paul and I are so excited to get started with that. And we're doing it with Jeremy and John's help from Rise 25. I highly recommend anybody that's looking to start a podcast, you definitely need to reach out to Jeremy and John. Thank you for all your help that you've been doing and helping us get that launched. And it's been such a pleasure being here, Jeremy. I really appreciate you having me on.
Everyone, check it out. I'll take the shout out. By the time you listen to this, it's probably already live, and they have a bunch of amazing episodes. So check it out, amazingexits.com. I don't know how you got the domain. It's a great domain. Kellianne, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jeremy.